It's January 1945, the air is frigid and the snow blankets everything in a deceptive calm. The place? A charming little Polish town called Mikołów, minding its own business, probably wishing it had picked a different time to exist. Nestled in the heart of Poland, Mikołów is a town with a rich history and a peaceful demeanor, now caught in the crossfire of a global conflict. World War II is coming to a messy end, and Mikołów finds itself smack dab in the middle of the action. The town's cobblestone streets and quaint houses are now the backdrop for a brutal confrontation. Picture this. The Soviets are on one side, eager to kick the Nazis out and, not be invaded anymore. They are advancing with determination, their eyes set on reclaiming territory and pushing the Germans back. On the other side, we have the Germans, dug in like stubborn ticks and just as welcoming. They are entrenched, using every bit of the town's infrastructure to their advantage, ready to defend their positions at all costs. Not exactly a recipe for a relaxing spa weekend. The town is a battlefield with destruction and chaos at every corner. Buildings are reduced to rubble, and the once peaceful streets are now filled with the sounds of war. Now you might be thinking, John, why should I care about some random battle in a town I can't even pronounce? Well, let me tell you, this battle was a turning point, a significant moment in the closing chapters of World War II. Well, buckle up, because this wasn't just another Tuesday in 1945. The Battle of Mikołów was a fierce and pivotal clash, with both sides fighting tooth and nail for control. This, my friends, was the Battle of Mikołów, a battle that would shape the future of this small town and leave an indelible mark on the history of World War II. Let's talk strategy, shall we? The Germans, despite being on the ropes at this point in the war, weren't slouches when it came to defense. They knew the Soviets were coming, and they decided to make Mikołów as welcoming as a porcupine party. Think trenches, bunkers, the whole shebang. They fortified the town and the surrounding hills, turning the place into a fortress. They even had some fancy Tiger tanks, because nothing says "come at me, bro" like a giant hunk of metal with a gun the size of a small car. Their plan was simple: hold the line, slow the Soviet advance, and maybe, just maybe, avoid getting their lederhosen in a twist. Spoiler alert, it didn't quite work out that way. Now the Soviets, bless their cotton socks, weren't known for their subtlety. Their strategy was less artful deception and more hit it with everything we've got until it stops moving, and boy did they have a lot to hit with. Imagine a tidal wave of tanks, troops and artillery all aimed directly at Mikołów. They were like a bear that stumbled into a beehive and decided to fight every single bee. Their objective? Break through the German defenses, liberate Mikołów and keep pushing towards Berlin. It was a simple plan, admittedly, but sometimes you just have to admire the classics. Like a good potato, it's all about effectiveness. The Battle of Mikołów was a clash of styles, a bit like watching a ballet dancer go up against a raging bull. You knew it was going to be dramatic, and you just hoped nobody lost a tutu. The fighting was, in a word, intense. The Germans holed up in their bunkers, put up a fierce resistance. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but they fought like cornered raccoons, which, as we all know, are surprisingly vicious. The Soviets, meanwhile, unleashed a furious assault, their tanks and artillery pounding German positions. The air was thick with smoke, the ground trembled, and I'm pretty sure even the squirrels were wearing tiny helmets. Section 5 numbers don't lie, except when they do. All right, let's talk casualties. War is a numbers game, and sadly, those numbers represent human lives. It's not pretty, but it's important to remember the human cost of conflict. Estimating casualties in war is like trying to herd cats while riding a unicycle. It's tricky, and you're probably going to end up with a headache. Records are incomplete, numbers get inflated, and sometimes people just straight up lie. We do know that both sides suffered heavy losses in the Battle of Mikołów. The Soviets, because they were attacking, probably had it worse. But hey, at least they won the battle, which I guess is a small consolation if you're not, dead. Section 6, a bridge too far, more like a bridge too blown up. One of the key moments in the battle involved a bridge. Yes, a bridge. Thrilling, right? But hold on. Because this wasn't just any bridge. This bridge was strategically important, which is a fancy way of saying that both sides really, really wanted it. The Germans, in their infinite wisdom, decided to blow it up. Now, I'm no military strategist, but blowing up a bridge that you yourself might need seems a bit counterproductive. It's like setting your pants on fire to stay warm. This act of bridge-related sabotage did slow the Soviet advance, but it also made things a tad awkward for the Germans when they needed to retreat. Whoopsie-daisy. Section 7, Stories from the Trenches. Because history should be more than just dates. History can sometimes feel like a dry, dusty textbook filled with endless lists of dates, names, and events that seem to have no real connection to our lives today. Dates, names, battles. It all blends together after a while, creating a blur of information that can be hard to relate to. But behind the cold, hard facts are human stories, tales of courage, resilience, and maybe even a little bit of absurdity. These stories bring history to life, making it more than just a series of events. Like the story of the German soldier who, in the middle of the battle, decided to make himself a cup of tea inside his tank. It's a moment of humanity amidst the chaos of war. While under heavy artillery fire, the sheer audacity and calmness in such a dire situation is both baffling and inspiring. I mean, talk about keeping calm and carrying on. It's these little anecdotes that show the human side of history. Or the tale of the Soviet soldier who, after running out of ammunition, single-handedly charged a German machine gun nest armed with nothing but a shovel and a whole lot of vodka-fueled rage. His determination and bravery are legendary. These stories remind us that history isn't just about dates and battles. It's about people. People who lived, loved, and fought with everything they had. Real people with hopes, dreams, and a surprising tolerance for caffeine. They faced unimaginable challenges and still found moments of normalcy and humor. They wrote letters home, shared jokes with comrades, and held on to their humanity in the face of adversity. These are the stories that make history truly fascinating and relatable. Section 8. Victory, defeat, and everything in between. After days of brutal fighting, the Soviets finally captured Mikołów. The Germans, outnumbered and out-resourced, were forced to withdraw. It was a victory for the Soviets, but a costly one. Victory, as they say, is a fickle mistress. It often comes at a high price, and it's never as simple or straightforward as we'd like it to be. For the people of Mikołów, it was a bittersweet victory. Their town was liberated, yes, but also pretty much destroyed. It was a bit like finally getting rid of that annoying house guest, only to discover they'd accidentally burned down your kitchen. Section 9. Mikołów's place in the big picture. A tiny town, a big war. So where does Mikołów fit into the grand scheme of World War II? Was it a turning point, a decisive victory? Well, not really. In the grand tapestry of the war, the Battle of Mikołów was a relatively small thread. But here's the thing about threads. They may seem insignificant on their own, but together they create the fabric of history. Every battle, every skirmish, every act of courage or defiance contributed to the eventual outcome of the war. The Battle of Mikołów might not have been a game-changer, but it was a part of the larger Soviet offensive that ultimately led to the defeat of Nazi Germany. And that, my friends, is something worth remembering. Section 10. Lessons learned because history repeats itself, usually with more explosions. They say those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. And frankly, I don't know about you, but I'm not keen on repeating World War II. That's why it's important to learn from history, even, or especially, the messy, complicated bits. What can we learn from the Battle of Mikołów? Well, for starters, war is bad, like really bad. It's destructive, it's brutal, and it rarely solves anything. We can also learn that courage can be found in the most unexpected places, and that sometimes the best strategy is to just make yourself a cup of tea and wait for the whole thing to blow over. Metaphorically, of course, please don't make tea inside a tank during a battle. Section 11. Why should we care? Why should we care about a battle that took place almost 80 years ago in a town most of us can't even pronounce? Because history matters. It's not just about memorizing dates and events. It's about understanding the stories and lessons that shape our present and future. It shapes who we are, where we come from, and the world we live in today. The decisions made, the lives lost, and the victories won all contribute to the tapestry of our collective human experience. The Battle of Mikołów, like countless other battles throughout history, reminds us of the human cost of conflict. It's a stark reminder of the sacrifices made by soldiers and civilians alike. and the enduring impact of war on communities. It reminds us that freedom is precious, that peace is fragile, and that a good cup of tea can be surprisingly comforting, even in the midst of chaos. These small moments of tranquility are what people fought to protect. So, the next time you hear about a far-off conflict, take a moment to remember the Battle of Mikołów. Reflect on the fact that every conflict, no matter how distant, has real people at its heart, with stories and lives as complex as our own. Remember the soldiers who fought and died there on both sides. Their bravery and sacrifice are not just historical footnotes, they are the foundation of the freedoms we enjoy today. Remember the civilians caught in the crossfire. Their resilience and suffering are a testament to the human spirit's capacity to endure and rebuild. Remember that history is more than just dates and battles. It's about people. And people matter. Their stories, their struggles, and their triumphs are what make history a living, breathing narrative that continues to shape our world.